Hi, I'm Dan Haggerty. I'd like to welcome you to Mountain People. These are my people, and your people too. You know, these folks back here have that mountain spirit. Been living this way for over hundreds and hundreds of years. A lot of these folks are even related to Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett. There's even Native Americans that live here too. So I want you to stay with us because we're going to show you history in the making. We're going to be making some incredible stews, show you how to make a dulcimer, and even make a little moonshine by the light of the moon. So I'm Dan Haggerty for the Mountain People. We'll be looking for you.
Howdy y'all, my name's Doug Elliott and we're here celebrating the biodiversity on the southern Appalachian Mountains. There are all kinds of plants and animals here. Some of these plants you can use for food, some for medicine, some for all kinds of things. Come on, we'll go out on a little tour here. Let's go, come on. Down the trail, something's lying on the ground. Nature's Tootsie Roll all long and brown. Don't wrinkle your nose, don't lose your lunch. Break it apart, you might learn a bunch. Don't use your fingers now, use a stick. Keep sanitary now, that's a trick. If you want to find out what animals eat, take a long hard look at what they excrete. Stuck in the scats, all kinds of clues. Parts of the food that your bodies can't use, like repeat after me, like bones and fur. Bones and fur, berries and seeds, berries and seeds. Crawfish shells, grass fibers and weeds, grass fibers and weeds. It starts with an S and it ends with a T. Comes out of you and it comes out of me. I know what you're thinking, you can call it that, but let's be scientific and call it scat. Scoobity bop 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 doo bop bop. Look at that. So this is a big bear. Big bear. You can kind of tell by some of that dimension there. And you can take that stick and you poke around and you can figure out what that bear has been eating. And look at that, all crushed up. Is the fall of the year? What kind of that? Look like some kind of meal kind of crushed up in there. No, not doggy kibbles, but acorns. This is what the bears are fattening up on this time of year. They're eating lots of acorns, and then once they get on a thick layer of fat, they can have their whole period of dormancy where they can almost hibernate for months as the weather gets cold. But now's the season for them to fatten up. Nuts, hickory nuts. Sometimes they say they can crack black walnuts with their teeth. Boy, I don't recommend it. Don't try this at home. But there you go.
We bought this orchard after 2 hours of study, never having owned an apple orchard before. I'd been a rocket scientist, didn't know anything about growing apples. We bought it as a preservation project. We wanted to make absolutely sure that this private land on both sides of the parkway for 2 miles, a mile in each direction, would never be bought and developed and turned into something ugly. So we're preservationists. But then, heck, the apples were growing and we thought all you had to do was pick them, so we started growing apples. And I found in some ways it was easier to get men on the moon than it was to grow apples. And you know, we bought the place through a lot of strange coincidences. Saw the ad at exactly the right moment, called at exactly the right moment, beat out the 4 men that were on his answering machine. But the biggest coincidence of all was what we found out after we bought it. National Historic Trail right here in front. I started learning the story of that National Historic Trail and telling a story to any of the listeners that would come through the orchard. And I found out that I was telling a story by name about my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. And I had no inkling that he was my great-great-great-great-grandfather. And that coincidence cemented us in the purpose of preserving not only the physical beauty here, which is considerable, but the apples and the history and the music and the culture that's disappearing from this place in the mountains. That's why we're here. This is a good old tough mountain apple, Stamen wine sap. This apple has an attribute that makes it really great for making apple butter. You can peel it, core it, and slice it, and you can take the slices and put them into the copper kettle for apple butter, and they melt down into apple butter more easily than other kinds of apples. And in addition to that, they have a good tartness that makes them a prime candidate for apple butter making. Fine old mountain apple, the Stamen wine sap.
Going up a creek, going in a run, going up a creek, have a little fun. Going up a creek, going in the world, going up a creek, smile girl.
Well, this is our log cabin. This is what we call log cabin cooking and music, and we're lucky to have this wonderful place to teach my Appalachian music classes. We hold big classes here at least twice a week in banjo, fiddle, guitar. We have a little band of students that I call the Log Cabin Band that play, and we go out and perform places. The cabin is from the 1930s, and we've kind of renovated it and turned it into a nice spot to do the classes in music, and a great big living room with a rock fireplace there. In the winter we have a big fire going in there. It's really fun. And then Barbara teaches her cooking classes in the retro kitchen. We have a home comfort wood cook stove in there, and she's got it fixed up really retro. So it's really fun to be able to do both our things in this fantastic old cabin. All right.
You know, we come from the principal people, and in our words we say Aniya Wiyahi. That means we come from the principal people, which is all indigenous peoples is one with no names. So we teach the culture of our people here at the Okanaftina village, what makes us who we are, and that's our culture. Everything together equal, one thing. Medicine doesn't stand out.
My father died when I was 8, and so my mother had a hard time. So I learned how to finger weave. I do river cane mats and beadwork.
It's an honor to be this way with language, dances, songs, medicines, everything that makes us who we are. So it's an honor to be created this way.
Ooh, the fall garden's looking good today. That rain sure has helped. Look at that! I think these candy roasters are ready to be picked. This is a really special squash. It only grows here in these western North Carolina mountains, and it's perfect for pie. Let's head into the kitchen and see what we can make with this. I think this will make about 6 pies. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn this squash over that's already baked for an hour, and I'm going to scoop out the pulp, and then we're going to mash it. Pretty much like that. The women that I learned to cook from, my grandmother and my aunts, none of them measured anything. They measured in the palm of their hands. So that's how I learned to cook. Alrighty, and this recipe is interesting actually because it's a pumpkin pie that only has 1 egg. It's traditional from the 30s. My grandmother's friend, Mrs. Painter, taught her how to make this pie. And so then my grandmother taught me, but it's born of an egg shortage. And that's why there's a little bit of flour in the mix. Okay, it's been about an hour. Let's go see how our pie's doing. Oh, it's perfect. Look at that. All righty. Now, this pie is going to do what pie does. It brings people to the table. So, come to the table.
Music is a very important part of my life. I grew up on a subsistence farm about 6 to 8 miles north of town. We made all of the food that we ate. We made all of the implements that we used. My mother was a very gifted craftsperson, so I grew up with the culture of making things. They made almost everything we used. And I've been singing all of my life. I've been building instruments now for about 50 years. I was away from this region 12 years in the military and in school. When I came back in 1959, I started seriously building instruments, not to sell for commercial purposes, but for use in the family. I have been selling commercially for a while, but that's not the motivation. My family all has the instruments we've built, and they've helped build a number of the instruments in the shop. They love music. It's a part of our family. We make the music because we love it. It's for us.